I'm Ellie Garrett, and this is my friend Ryan. So Ryan, what were your expectations of the Christian faith?
My mom and my dad kind of have two different backgrounds, and so my dad believes one thing, and then of course my mom was the daughter of a pastor herself. So we ended up going like with my dad's denomination, and I didn't really get it. Because you imagine like a God figure, and you're like, oh, this must be a very loving individual. And that wasn't really what they taught us, and they taught us that if you didn't belong to that denomination, you wouldn't get into heaven. So a lot of that just rubbed me and especially my sister, who was more involved in the youth group, just really rubbed her the wrong way. And seeing her hurt that way, I didn't want that for her or for me.
So one of your first impressions of Pathfinder was when me and you went to the Holy Week experience.
It felt really cool to be able to like walk through and experience it in a new way, because I think it's one thing when you read about it, but it's another to kind of see everything and be like, oh my gosh, like this is what he went through. I thought it was like really powerful imagery, but even at that point, I wasn't sold on it at all, but I think that was the little first step. And I think it's important to have a place like this where it's like, hey dude, like you're a fundamentally very flawed person. You were broken and gross, and there's somebody who loves you for that anyway. I feel like that's a much more vulnerable, a much more human experience. And I thought that was really neat, and there's just nothing else like that.
So Ryan, was there ever a time when you felt like there was a specific turning point in your faith where you felt like there was a God worth pursuing for you?
The summit retreat, I had attended like a little bit and still thought it was kind of weird. I was like, okay, John and Pua are awesome, but like I don't want to spend a weekend with these people,
We convinced you. We were like,
yeah,
you have to
no,
come.
you have to go. It ended up being really, really cool. Take a weekend off work and just go in the middle of nowhere and just talk to these people who all have the same beliefs.
You mentioned that your sister had a bad experience with youth group, and that sort of put you off to any association with a church or a faith. Is there anything else that made you sort of resistant to the Christian faith at all?
Yeah, I was born with this like physical disability and prune belly syndrome, which sounds very made up. So I didn't have any muscles in here, right? Just didn't show up to work that day. And, and it didn't really affect my life too much, and it could have been way worse. Like other kids have it and they need like kidney transplants, nothing that serious. But I just felt different. Here's all the other kids who look like this and do all these things, and here's you. And so I think that was part of it, was just not having a real strong sense of community. And then of course, getting to my sister when I was 14, she committed suicide. And so all of the grief and the nihilism and existential dread that comes with that, you kind of ask yourself, like, what kind of a loving God could let things like this happen? And this is touched on even in the Bible, which was really weirdly reassuring. Like the story of Job, where like this man has everything taken from him and he's like, I love God anyway. I know I do. That's powerful stuff. That's really cool. So I think those were the initial roadblocks, but I think they're also the things that have or will eventually make my faith even stronger.
What has being part of this church community meant to you?
It's really cool to meet so many people that have so much hope. And so many people are just slipping into this, well, nothing matters. Why do anything? And that's terrifying. That is a really scary place to be. And so to meet these people that are like, well, I'm not done. No, dude, like there's so much life to live while we're here. And then, of course, a lot of them, and I'm not there yet, but they're like, and there's something after this too. Like, and so I think that's just really cool is you just have all these people that haven't given up.
Yeah, to be surrounded by people who believe in something that makes sense is really, really powerful.